The kitchen floor was cold against Lillian's cheek. That's what she remembered most clearly. Not the searing pain in her hip, not the realization that her phone was on the counter, out of reach, but how cold the tile felt against her skin as she lay there, unable to move. Lillian was 74 years old, and she had done everything right. For 20 years, she took her calcium religiously with orange juice each morning. She avoided fat like it was poison. She watched her salt intake. She followed every piece of health advice her doctor gave her. And yet there she was, sprawled on her kitchen floor at 6:30 in the morning, her hip shattered from a simple trip over nothing. The pain was excruciating, but it was nothing compared to the crushing realization. Everything she believed about protecting her health was wrong. Lillian lay there for 3 hours before her daughter came by for their weekly breakfast. 3 hours to think about all the things she'd been told. All the things she'd believed. All the things that had failed her when she needed them most. These aren't just innocent mistakes. They're lies. Lies wrapped in good intentions, and they're stealing strength, clarity, and time from seniors everywhere. Today's video will expose the 5 most dangerous health lies that people over 65 still believe. Lillian spent 20 years trusting them, and they nearly cost her everything. We'll show you how to unlearn each one, and what to do instead, starting today. Because the 4th lie? It's the one that shocked doctors the most, and the one that's probably affecting you or someone you love right now, even if they feel fine. Lie number 1. Calcium pills prevent fractures. The first lie destroyed Lillian's bones from the inside out, despite her best efforts to keep them strong. Calcium pills prevent fractures. That's what her doctor told her at 54, when her first bone density scan showed early signs of osteopenia. Take 1,200 milligrams of calcium daily, he said, handing her a prescription. Take it with orange juice. The vitamin C helps absorption. For 20 years, Lillian never missed a day. She took her calcium with morning juice, certain she was protecting her skeleton. She even smugly mentioned it to friends at bridge club whenever they complained about their bones. "You really should take calcium," she'd say. "I haven't had any problems." Until she found herself on that kitchen floor, with a broken hip from a fall that shouldn't have been serious. Here's the truth they don't tell you. Calcium alone doesn't prevent fractures. In fact, several large studies have shown that isolated calcium supplementation barely moves the needle on fracture prevention. Without the right cofactors, vitamin K2, vitamin D3, magnesium, and without the right kind of physical loading, that calcium doesn't go where it's needed. Worse, some of it may end up in the arteries instead of the bones. When Lillian finally got a comprehensive health workup after her fall, her doctor found concerning levels of arterial calcification. Her calcium wasn't strengthening her bones, it was hardening her blood vessels. What the body really needs is a system, not a pill. Seniors need weight-bearing movement that signals bones to grow stronger. They need balanced nutrition that includes all the cofactors that direct calcium to the skeleton, not the soft tissues. They need hormonal balance that preserves bone architecture. Lillian didn't know any of this until it was too late. Now she does 3 things differently. First, she works with resistance bands 4 days a week. Even seated exercises have dramatically improved her bone density. Second, she takes vitamin K2 and D3 alongside any calcium and gets her levels checked regularly. And third, she's incorporated more leafy greens, which provide calcium in a form her body actually recognizes. If you're taking calcium alone, especially with acidic juice, ask your doctor about comprehensive bone health, not just supplementation. Your bones are living tissue, not concrete that needs more cement. Lie number 2. If you're not sick, you're healthy. The second lie kept Harold in the dark about his declining health, even though the warning signs were there. If you're not sick, you're healthy. This was Harold's mantra. At 81, he prided himself on never being sick a day in my life. He'd worked as a machinist for 40 years, raised 4 children, and considered himself the picture of health, because he had no diagnosis, no disease. But Harold hadn't walked outside in 4 days. Getting out of his recliner took 3 attempts. He needed to rest after showering. He couldn't remember his grandson's birthday. And still, when asked how he was doing, he'd smile and say, "Healthy as a horse." The truth is, health isn't the absence of disease, it's capacity. It's energy, mobility, mental clarity, and functional ability. And decline in these areas begins long before you get a diagnosis. Doctors call it subclinical loss, the gradual erosion of function that happens below the threshold of medical intervention. By the time Harold developed pneumonia that put him in the hospital, he'd lost so much muscle mass and cardiovascular capacity that recovery took months instead of weeks. What looked like sudden frailty had actually been building for years. He just wasn't measuring the right things. Here's what research shows. The body gives warning signs long before it gives a diagnosis. The question isn't, am I sick? But rather, what can I do today that I couldn't do yesterday? What's getting harder? What's taking longer? Seniors should do a weekly function check. Can you balance on one foot for 10 seconds? Can you get up from the floor without using your hands? Do you have steady energy at 10 a.m., or are you already depleted? These simple tests tell more about health trajectory than any medical chart. When function starts to slip, that's the body's first whisper. Don't wait for it to scream with a diagnosis. If tasks take more effort, or recovery takes longer, or brain fog lasts through the morning, don't dismiss it as just aging. That's the window for intervention, when small changes can prevent big problems. Harold eventually moved in with his daughter. The man who was never sick now needs help with basic daily activities, not because of any particular disease, but because he mistook the absence of diagnosis for the presence of health. Lie number 3. You shouldn't burden people with your problems. The third lie isolated Walter when he needed connection most, and made his physical health worse in ways he never expected. You shouldn't burden people with your problems. This was Walter's belief, instilled by his father and reinforced through 50 years in the military and corporate world. At 80, after losing his wife of 52 years, Walter's grief was overwhelming. But when neighbors asked how he was doing, he'd straighten his back and say, "I'm fine, thank you for asking." When his daughter called from Seattle, worried about him living alone, he assured her he was getting along just fine. When his doctor asked about his mood at his checkup, Walter changed the subject to his blood pressure medication. 6 months after his wife's passing, Walter developed shingles. Then pneumonia. Then inexplicable gastrointestinal issues. His immune system, already challenged by age, was being decimated by something else: the physical toll of emotional suppression. Here's what decades of research now confirms. Suppressing emotional pain increases inflammation, accelerates cognitive decline, and raises mortality risk. Social isolation is more dangerous to health than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. The stoicism that many were raised to value isn't just psychologically harmful, it's physically destructive. When people hide their pain, the nervous system stays on high alert. Stress hormones flood the system. Inflammation rises. Sleep quality plummets. And the very resilience they're trying to project erodes from within. For Walter, the turning point came when his minister visited unexpectedly and simply sat with him in silence. When Walter finally began to weep, sharing how desperately he missed his wife, how lost he felt without her, something shifted. The simple act of being witnessed in his pain began a healing process. Walter joined a grief support group at his local senior center. He started calling his daughter twice a week and actually telling her when he was having a hard day. He rekindled old friendships that had fallen away during his wife's illness. 3 months later, at his checkup, his doctor was astonished by the improvement in his inflammatory markers. His blood pressure had stabilized. The persistent infections had resolved. If you've been raised to keep a stiff upper lip, to handle things yourself, to not burden others with your struggles, consider a different approach. Connection and truth-telling aren't luxuries. They're medicine for your nervous system. Start small. Make one call where you share honestly about a struggle. Join one group where you can be authentic. Allow yourself to receive support from one person who cares about you. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the pathway to healing, both emotional and physical. Lie number 4. Hearing loss is just inconvenient. The fourth lie nearly cost Tom his mind, though he had no idea at the time. Hearing loss is just inconvenient. Tom was 76 when he first noticed he couldn't follow conversations in restaurants. He'd smile and nod, catching maybe every third word. At home, His wife complained about the television volume. His grandchildren learned to face him directly when they spoke. But when his doctor suggested a hearing assessment, Tom waved it away. "It's not that bad," he insisted. "Not worth the hassle and expense." Like many men his age, he saw hearing aids as a sign of weakness, an admission of aging he wasn't ready to make. Over the next 2 years, Tom began to withdraw from social gatherings. It was exhausting to constantly ask people to repeat themselves. He stopped attending his weekly poker game. He sat silently through family dinners, unable to follow the cross-table conversations, feeling increasingly isolated in a room full of people who loved him. When his wife finally convinced him to see a neurologist for his increasing forgetfulness and confusion, the diagnosis shocked them both. Tom's untreated hearing loss had significantly accelerated his cognitive decline. Here's the devastating truth research now confirms. Untreated hearing loss increases the risk of dementia by up to 5 times. It's not just about missing sounds, it's about what happens to the brain when it's constantly struggling to fill in auditory gaps. When someone can't hear clearly, their brain diverts enormous resources to trying to decode fragmented sounds. This cognitive load drains the same systems needed for memory, balance, and processing. Simultaneously, the social isolation that often accompanies hearing loss deprives the brain of the stimulation it needs to maintain neural connections. It's a devastating double hit to cognitive reserves, and it happens so gradually that most people don't connect their memory problems to their hearing difficulties. For Tom, getting properly fitted hearing aids reversed some of his symptoms within weeks. The constant cognitive strain lifted. He could participate in conversations again without exhaustion. His balance improved. His memory didn't fully recover, but the rate of decline slowed significantly. If you're finding yourself struggling to hear in noisy environments, if you need the TV volume higher than others prefer, if you sometimes think people are mumbling when they speak, please get your hearing checked. Not next year, not when it gets bad enough, now. Modern hearing technology is nearly invisible, increasingly affordable, and some options don't even require a prescription. But the cost of pride, of dismissing hearing loss as a mere inconvenience rather than a major health risk, that cost is measured in mind and memory. Don't wait until you're struggling cognitively to address your hearing. By then, some damage may be irreversible. Do it now while intervention can preserve what you have. Lie number 5. You're in the second half now, just take it easy from here. The fifth lie emptied Loretta's days of meaning, though she had everything she thought she wanted. You're in the second half now, just take it easy from here. Loretta had done everything right. At 76, she had a comfortable retirement, a paid-off house, good health insurance, and no major health problems. Her children were successful, her grandchildren were thriving. She had achieved the American dream. Work hard, save well, retire comfortably. So why did she wake up each morning feeling hollow? Why did her days feel endless, despite being filled with the leisure activities she'd looked forward to for decades? "I thought I was supposed to relax now," she told a friend over coffee. "I've earned it, right? But I feel useless. Like I'm just waiting to die." The medical establishment rarely discusses this, but purpose isn't just a psychological need, it's a biological one. The brain evolved to solve problems, to contribute, to be needed by the community. When those elements disappear, neurochemistry changes in ways that affect every system in the body. Research now shows that seniors with strong purpose live longer, experience less depression, maintain better mobility, and preserve cognitive function better than those without clear purpose, even when all other health factors are equal. It's not about being busy. It's about being necessary. It's about waking up with a reason that matters more than aches and pains. For Loretta, the transformation began when her neighbor broke her ankle. Loretta offered to walk her dogs twice daily. Those walks became a commitment she couldn't break. The dogs needed her, regardless of the weather or how she felt. Within weeks, her mood lifted. Her sleep improved. Even her arthritis seemed less bothersome when she had somewhere she needed to be. That small taste of purpose led to more. Loretta began tutoring at an after-school program. She joined the board of her homeowners association. She started documenting family stories and recipes for future generations. None of these activities were physically demanding, But they all shared one crucial element. They required her. She wasn't just consuming time and resources, she was contributing value that wouldn't exist without her. If you've been told that retirement means stepping back, slowing down, and focusing on leisure, reconsider this approach. By all means, enjoy your hard-earned free time. But make sure some portion of your days involves contribution over consumption. Mentor someone. Teach a skill. Volunteer. Create something. Lead a cause. Your specific purpose isn't important. What matters is that someone or something would miss your contribution if you didn't make it. Purpose isn't extra credit in the later chapters of life. It's essential medicine for your body and brain. We see Lillian now, 1 year after her fall, walking her terrier up the steep hill near her home. She has resistance bands in her backpack for her strength class later. She stops to chat with neighbors, no longer hiding her hearing aids but grateful for the clarity they provide. She's organizing a community garden project, something she never would have attempted before. The fall was a blessing, she tells friends, though you can see the memory still makes her wince. It shattered more than my hip. It shattered all those lies I'd built my health around. She stopped chasing the lies. She started listening to her body. And it listened back. If you're over 65, pick the one lie from today that hit hardest. The one that made you think, that's me. Take that lie, flip it, and test the truth instead. Watch what happens. If it's the calcium lie, talk to your doctor about comprehensive bone health, not just supplements. If it's the absence of disease lie, start measuring function weekly instead of waiting for diagnosis. If it's the burden lie, make one call where you share honestly about a struggle. If it's the hearing lie, schedule an assessment, not for convenience, but for your brain's protection. If it's the purpose lie, find one place where you're truly needed, not just welcomed. Your body isn't broken, it's waiting to be heard. Those aches, that fatigue, that fog, they're not just getting old. They're messages asking for a different approach. The lies stole 20 years from Lillian. Don't let them steal another day from you. Please share your thoughts in the comments if you've experienced something like this. Your story could help someone else realize they're not alone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified when our next video goes live.